Brad, have you seen the massive amounts of people on TikTok discussing how Gen Z is aging?
No, not until you pointed. We're on different TikTok, so I hadn't
Yeah.
seen this until you pointed it out to me.
Okay, well, my TikTok has been dominated by this question. I want to roll a compilation of clips just to get everybody else up to speed.
Apparently, Gen Z is like aging really rapidly.
It is mainly because of the stress. Come here. We live in a time nowadays where millennials look way younger for their age, while Gen Z looks way older for their age. If you don't believe me, I'm Gen Z. Get closer. I am Gen Z and nobody ever believes me. When my mom and I walk out in public, people think that my mom is my younger sister. Right? When I tell people, oh, I'm going to go hang out with my family, they think I'm talking about my children. I don't have kids, right? I'm talking about my parents. I'm still the child. Does that make sense?
I keep seeing TikToks of people talking about how Gen Z looks way older than they actually are. They look old for their age. And I just saw one saying that millennials look young for their age. And it's funny that this is a topic of conversation now because a couple of years ago, probably like 5 years ago, I went to Target with my younger sister. She's Gen Z. She's 10 years younger than me. I think at the time she was probably 15. And we were checking out in Target and the cashier was like, we were talking about how we were sisters for some reason. And she asked who was the older sister. And I was like, I'm literally 25. Like, she's a baby.
What we're not about to do is sit here and let Gen Z lie to one another. And we're not going to let y'all aunties lie to y'all. Yeah, you look older than we do. Yes, you are aging like gas station produce. Sorry. And first of all, it has something to do with this rampant ageism that y'all got going on. Anytime y'all get into it with somebody in their 30s, even in their late 20s, y'all want to call us, oh, karma's a mother.
I was humbled so quick tonight. I was on live with my boyfriend and someone was like, how old's your girlfriend? And John jokingly responds 47. And the girl comments, oh, I thought she was early 30s. I am 23.
Everybody's talking about how Gen Z is aging like a pack of saltine crackers.
Jordan the Stallion said that Gen Z is looking older while millennials are looking younger. Come closer. And he said they're looking older because of the stress. Us millennials are stressed as heck, and we have lived through more unprecedented times than Gen Z. But most of us are looking younger than Gen Zers.
So I had not seen this conversation or this trend, but I do find it funny because personally, I am Gen Z. Technically, I'm right on the cusp of Gen Z and millennial, but people think I'm a lot older than I am. So I play soccer with a bunch of guys who are a lot younger than me. They're like 19, 20, 21, and they thought I was 40. They actually thought I was 40. And people online with my Twitter avatar, they always think I'm middle-aged. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm part of it. Maybe he's talking about me.
I'm not going to lie. I wanted to talk to you about this specifically because, yes, you are Gen Z and people do often think you're older. And I'm a millennial. I'm 30.
And people think you're younger.
And people think I'm way younger. Like most people, when I say my age, they're like, we thought you were in your 20s, which it doesn't add up.
Botox may help with that, girly.
I was going to say, I do think I'm out front about it. I get Botox, I have filler. I also spend a lot on skincare. There's a lot going on there. So all of that definitely helps. But it is interesting to me because even before I started doing that, I just did kind of look younger. Like, I don't know what exactly is happening, but I had already noticed this trend before TikTok started bringing it up. So once I saw Gen Z owning it, and I wouldn't just say that because I'm not mean, but once I saw Gen Z owning it, I was like, yeah, they're not wrong. But what I think is interesting is the reasons for why they think it's happening. And you heard some of these in this clip. They keep saying that they think it's because they're more stressed. And I think that's asinine. Millennials have lived through far more stress than Gen Z. And I'm not saying that Gen Z won't have a lot more stress coming their way, but like millennials have had to go through far worse things than Gen Z has so far. Let's keep in mind, we were the first generation that had to start incorporating technology into our lives. That was a huge disruption in society. Then we had 9/11 happen when we were in like middle school. That was terrifying. Then you had the Great Recession and everybody was losing their jobs and going broke. And we didn't know if we were going to be able to get jobs or how our parents' future was going to look. And then we also have lived through the past couple of years right alongside Gen Z and been just as impacted by it, I would say, as they have been. So
I don't know if I agree with that. How many years of
agree.
school did you miss? How many, like
not school, but like, okay, maybe it impacted us at different times in our lives, but millennials were impacted as far as like meeting a spouse, getting married, buying a home, like whether or not they're going to have kids.
Handle that kind of disruption as an adult than as it is as a 15-year-old.
Maybe, but also you're not having to survive. You're not having to keep your job as a 15-year-old. I would say
their whole lives were like school and their social networks. Their whole lives were turned upside down for like 2 years for almost no reason. Whereas, millennials who worked from home, like, or lost their jobs, like, I'm not saying they didn't have problems, but I'm saying they weren't at such a developmental stage, right? If you're already 24 or 25 when it all happens.
Yeah. But do you think that really that was that much more stressful to them than everything we've gone through as millennials, to where the whole generation's looking old? I don't think it is. I have a couple of theories.
Can really be I don't think the stress really has anything to do with it, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know why it might be. Maybe Alex Jones was right. Maybe the chemicals in the water are turning us all gay and old.
I don't think it's that. I will say, y'all are a bunch of haters. Gen Z is a vicious little generation. They've got a lot of hatred in their hearts, and they're always online talking about how millennials are chuggy, and they don't like our side parts, and they don't like our jeans. And
millennials are cringe, though.
I know but I'm just saying, like, maybe millennials are not aging as fast because we're not such big haters. We're just out here living our lives, being cringe, not worried about it. Gen Z's on here detailing everything about us, taking us to task. So I will say the hate might be aging you. But actually, I did look into this, and I have some serious stats I want to give for why this is, and it's actually kind of troubling. So my thought first was like, from everything I've seen, Gen Z is drinking less, right? So you should be aging slower. But I wanted to see if that was actually accurate, so I did a little research, and here's what I found. So the data shows a slight decrease in binge drinking for Gen Z compared to older generations, but it's not nearly as drastic as I thought when I first started poking around. I found that the general decrease in alcohol consumption had not actually reduced rates of alcohol addiction, which have remained relatively stable. And while the research says Gen Z does drink less, it's not that it is decreasing in such a way that it's really like turning it around. It said that they tend to drink in moderation. So they are more likely to like drink on special occasions or for socialization or having fun. Those are their top reasons for drinking. They're not, I guess, sitting at home like having a cocktail in the evenings. There are a lot of abstainers like you, Brad, who avoid alcohol because they don't like the taste, or they want to avoid hangovers, or they're worried about long-term negative effects. And they are a bit more wellness focused. So they may give up alcohol for like weight loss or sleeping improvements and energy levels. But as a whole, they're not really drinking so much less, and they do still have similar rates of alcohol addiction. But there's more to the picture than that. They said that while the decrease in drinking among the Gen Z cohort is encouraging, it doesn't mean the generation is out of the woods. In fact, as rates of drinking have decreased slightly, drug misuse is on the rise. According to a report from the National Institute on Drug Abuse in 2021, rates of marijuana and hallucinogen use among young adults reached the highest level since 1988. Between 2011 and 2021, marijuana use in young adults rose 13.2%. That's a lot. And hallucinogen use increased 4.7% during the same time. Hallucinogens that are commonly used by young adults include LSD, MDMA, Molly, peyote, shrooms, or psilocybin. And they also said, in addition, rates of vaping among young adults nearly tripled between 2017 and 2020. These patterns suggest that while alcohol misuse may be on the decline, rates of other abuse of substances are increasing. And an alarming trend among Gen Z, this is really sad, is the increase in drug overdoses. Among teens aged 12 to 17, there was a significant increase in drug overdose deaths between 2019 and 2020, and the death rate more than doubled from 1.2 deaths per 100,000 to 2.6 deaths per 100,000 among boys. The rate among girls increased from 1.1 among 100,000 in 2019 to 1.7 deaths per 100,000 in 2020. So after I started digging into it, I really think that might be a cause of a problem. Like, the generation's using a lot more pills and street drugs than other generations, which will definitely age you. And while I'm a proponent of like marijuana's legalization, I'm super opposed to war on drugs. I feel like that needs to coincide with awareness campaigns and education efforts. Like, just because something's legal doesn't mean you should do it, and especially not at high levels. Like, the fact that marijuana usage went up that significantly is not great.
And the other part of the other problem is it's not your grandpa's marijuana anymore. It's gotten a lot stronger and a lot more serious and heavy duty. And so, yeah, I'm also not somebody who believes in the criminalization of drugs, but I generally also think drugs are bad and people shouldn't do them. And I think Gen Z has very destructive health habits. Not everyone. There's also, a huge fitness movement within Gen Z or whatever, but there's a lot of social media addiction. There's a lot of untreated psychological issues, or a lot of people who use therapy speak to enable their bad behavior. I don't know. When I spend time on TikTok, I do lose a little bit of hope for Gen Z, but I also have to remind myself that there's lots of normal people too out there who aren't posting all the time. And so a lot of what we're seeing isn't representative, but yeah, I don't know. They also wanted to look older too.
That's a good point. I had that in my notes too. Like, some of their fashion trends and the beauty things that they like and are leaning into, they do age you. Like, I used to be kind of jealous because I don't feel like Gen Z had to live through their awkward ugly stage like I did. Like, I was butt ugly from like age 12 to probably 16. Like, it was a rough couple of years. And, you just didn't have like the makeup tutorials, the hair tutorials. You didn't have access to as many products. And certainly when I was in like college and my 20s, we couldn't afford Botox and fillers. Even in the past couple of years, those have come down in price tremendously. So for a while, I was like, they're so lucky. They have all this access to beauty information and assistance to where they don't have to go through an ugly stage. But now, in hindsight, I think it's actually aging them. It makes you look a lot older when you're leaning into some of these trends.